First Look here on a Tuesday on VSiN. I'm your host, Dave Ross. A pleasure to be joined once again on this Tuesday by Lou Finocchiaro. You can follow Lou as I do at GamLou. And also, you got to check out the Bout Business podcast that Lou puts out each and every Friday. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the program here, Lou, but I do want to talk to you about this card because it is a damn good one as we get ready for a big-time card on Saturday, highlighted and headlined by the return of who I think we still consider the GOAT in women's MMA. That would be Amanda Nunes. She tries to regain her strap at 135 pounds from the woman that took it from her, the Venezuelan vixen herself, Julianna Pena. And Lou, when I look at the numbers here, and I think what we try to do on First Strike, First Look, before we get to First Strike on Friday, is be anticipatory of the lines and where we think they might move. So before you tell me which side you may lean to here, Lou, when you look at the number here of Amanda Nunes minus 275, do you think that that's accurately priced, and which way do you think that line might move come Friday?
Well, we know that the first fight, Amanda Nunes was priced $850 or $900 and closed higher than that. And so this represents a drastic or at least a considerable snap back to reality where Nunes now becomes much more attractive than she was then. And Pena, still a dog, less attractive, obviously, than the plus 600 or 700. What did we learn? And how is it going to be applied in this fight? Those are the questions. But I'm intrigued by both. And I will say this. I've always regarded Valentina Shevchenko above Amanda Nunes in not only the pound-for-pound rankings, but the women's rankings, because it was Shevchenko, a natural 125er, that had to go fight Nunes to a split decision at Nunes's 135-pound weight division. Now, Amanda can't get down to 25, so we'll never know. But Shevchenko continues to win and take meticulous care of her legacy. And Amanda let her slip through the cracks in the last fight. Has she done enough to react this time?
And Lou, I think that's fair because if you remember those first two fights that you and I both know well, I was at the first time they fought at UFC 196. That was Valentina Shevchenko's indoctrination, if you will, into the UFC in a 3-round fight, which she dominated the back end of that fight after Amanda Nunes won big in that first and maybe first round and a half before Shevchenko switched the tide. And then that second fight, as you mentioned, very, very close. So I get that argument. But what about the argument here that Nunes was coming off COVID the first time she fought against Pena and now maybe is refocused? But you know how this goes. Rematches normally go the way of the first fight. Do you think it'll be different stylistically? I look at the total here, Lou, for a 5-round potential championship bout here. It's 2.5 rounds, and it's juiced evenly, minus $1.15 either way to the over or the under. Does Amanda come out fast like she did? She dominated that first round against Pena, but then once Pena got it back up to her feet, it was a whole different story. What style of fight do you think we see this time around?
What kind of conditioning does Amanda come with? Listen, you said it yourself. In that first Shevchenko fight, that's 7 years ago, she ran out of gas. It's Amanda's template to go out there and firestorm people, and most can't withstand it. Shevchenko did, and the tables were turning in both fights, and Pena absolutely did it, and Amanda ran out of gas and ran out of will. And so with Amanda, there's a couple things to consider. Where is she? She's a new parent. She has a child at home. That's a distraction as well. She started a new gym and moved away from AT&T. Are you kidding me? This doesn't spell or smell very good to me for Amanda. Meanwhile, when I see the Pena side, I see focus and a gal that isn't done with her journey. And so you can kind of feel where I'm leaning.
Yeah, totally. And again, I think also, like last week, you and I talked on Tuesday before the big fight card at UFC London, and we were both kind of on the side of Curtis Blades. Now, that main event, nobody wants it to end the way it did, but we were telling people then on a Tuesday, if you like Curtis Blades, wait, because that money will come in on Aspinall. That happened last week. How do you think the money will come in if you had to wager a lean? Do you think it comes in on the Lioness, or do you think more people are back on Pena in go around number 2?
I don't think they're going to let it move too much from here. And I would think that there's going to be some wise guys maybe chasing Amanda. I'm not really sure. Most of the early line movers were in other fights on this card, and I don't anticipate this one moving that much.
All right, well, let's talk about the co-main and what a fight this could be in another rematch, because Kai Kara France going to get another shot at Brandon Moreno at 125 pounds. Now, it didn't go well for Kai Kara the first time around. Now, potentially a 5-round bout here. I'm looking at it, Moreno over a $2 favorite. You can understand why. But Kara France, to me, is really intriguing in this one, Lou, with the power that obviously he brings at this weight class. I guess the question would be, can he catch Brandon Moreno in a guy who likes to have firefights, but I don't know if he wants to get in another one with Kai Kara France. How do you see this fight going?
Yeah, another rematch, and this is going to be an awesome fight. The first fight was a great fight, too. That fight, Kai Kara France minus 160. So things have turned a little based on, I think, Moreno's pedigree against Figueiredo, as well, the fact that he's been champion and all that comes with it. I see this as a really close fight. I don't know that Kai Kara France's power is going to do anything to Moreno. In fact, it won't. Moreno just got through with Figueiredo's power, and that dude's a 145er for crying out loud. So I don't think that it's going to be Kai Kara France's power that's going to potentially expose Moreno. It's his speed. Let's remember, Moreno, bigger, longer guy, and he's had 3 straight fights with Figueiredo. Again, not the quickest guy, but durable and powerful. And so I think that the speed of Kai Kara France could be the what dictates this fight. And to be quite honest with you, in any other situation, I'd be maybe a little more voracious on his side or a little bit sturdier a supporter. But this fight is in Texas, and Moreno's a Hispanic Mexican fighter, and I'm not certain that Kai Kara France can get an even shake in a close fight in Texas.
Well, and again, that's the elephant in the room, Lou, that we've talked a lot about with judging and scoring. When you look at the total rounds here, it's juiced heavily over 4.5 rounds at minus $1.60, which leads us to a potential decision. And whenever it goes to the cards, I think it's very smart and astute on your point to look at where the fight's being held and how the judges might be affected by that crowd. So when you see that being juiced that heavily, do you anticipate that it would go to the cards? And maybe that's a better way to play the fight if you don't think Kai Kara France might get a good shake with those cards.
Yeah, I think that it would be an over bet. I'm hard pressed to bet Kara France, the underdog, in a fight that's lined heavily to the over 4.5. This first fight was 2.5. Of course, it was a 3-round fight, but it's lined heavily to the over. These guys are flyweights in a big cage. It's 2 flies in a mason jar if things go into decision. And so it's hard for me to bet this fight with the distrust that I have of where this fight is and the fact that Moreno's going to have the whole place pulling for him.
Well, speaking of having the whole place pulling for him, everybody deep in the heart of Texas is going to be rooting for the Black Beast and Derek Lewis in his fight with Sergey Pavlovich here. But the Beast is a slight dog, plus $1.05 as we talk on a Tuesday. I have to imagine that the money might come in on the Beast, as popular as he is down there. Would that be money well spent on a steam move there for Lewis, or do you think Pavlovich is the rightful favorite here?
No, actually, this one started 3 days ago with the Beast as the favorite, and the early chalk chasers took Pavlovich from dog to chalk. And so Pavlovich, which was plus 110, plus 115, is now the minus 125, 130. And so as I looked at that, I kind of agreed with it to an extent. We haven't seen a lot of Pavlovich, but he's a Russian vice grip. And really, Derek Lewis is a one-trick pony, a big right hand or nothing. And so I see and agree with that line move going that way. Does money come back on the Beast? I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if I want to invest in a guy so limited in capacity against a well-rounded guy, even though we haven't seen him in a while.
And, I look at the total rounds here in that 3-round potential fight here, and you can get plus money right now if you think it's going to last longer than a round and a half. I mean, that just shows you the respect, obviously, the punching power of Derek Lewis. It just takes one, but also he can be finished relatively quickly. Do you have a lean on the total here? Do you think it goes deeper into the Texas night, or will this be a quick night like the books are anticipating?
That's interesting. I haven't gotten that far and don't have
Okay.
anything valuable to add there, but I lean to the Russian.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Alexander Pantoja against Alex Perez. This should be a very intriguing fight here. When you look at Pantoja, a slight favorite here, about minus $1.65. I'm seeing Perez in the comeback about plus $1.40. Any early line moves here that might have caught your eye here on a Tuesday, or do you think the favorite again is rightfully priced?
No, this is a good fight. Pantoja has a little more name recognition than people know, and he's a heck of a fighter. Perez, we last saw a couple years ago. He's had like 4 or 5 fights canceled and postponed and whatnot. And he got dominated by Figueiredo, but he's a better fighter than that. I think this is a pretty closely lined, accurately priced fight.
I look at the Lionheart, the return of Anthony Smith here. He is a huge underdog against Magomed Ankalaev here. Ankalaev, you got to lay almost $5. The comeback in the Lionheart about plus 380. It's a big number for a guy that's got pedigree like Anthony Smith. But do you think this is maybe the better days behind Anthony Smith, or how do you look at this and approach this fight?
Yeah, I think Anthony Smith is PO'd and disrespected, and I think he's live as he can be. And I'm going to keep quiet about it all week and wait and strike at the last possible minute. I think Anthony Smith can be more than competitive in this fight.
I'm picking up what you're putting down there, Lou. I see Jakar Close on this fight card. Drew Dober's back. Alex Moreno as well. Rafael Alves is back in that against Dober. Should be a pretty competitive fight. Is there any other fight on the fight card right here on a Tuesday that you really like a number now that you might want to grab instead of waiting till Friday?
I'll just give a tip on Drakkar Klose. This is a contract fight for him, and he's really, really motivated. Here's a guy that had Dariush wobbled before he walked into one, and he was about to get Ferreira, a top 15 guy. So if he looks good here, he rolls into a new contract, and then he rolls up to 155 in the top 15 where there are no slouches. So I look for a really spectacular display out of him this week.
Very quickly, the Bout Business podcast. Obviously, you're going to see Lou and I back here on First Strike on VSiN, but tell the people what they get when they tune in each week to the Bout Business podcast.
Yeah, after the weigh-ins, I compile my list of 3 to 6 fight releases. I submit those on a podcast that runs 16, 17 minutes. It's quick, it's easy, and mostly painless. The last 2 weeks have also been profitable, so I appreciate you mentioning it, Dave, and I also appreciate you having me on to discuss the fights early in the week.
Can't wait. Since you're so good at the weigh-ins, Lou, do you want to disclose to the people what you weigh in now? Where would you be fighting right now if you had to get inside that octagon?
Well, I'd have to have a few months and try and put the weight at a spot that I would only miss by 10 pounds. So that'd have to be light heavyweight. Right now, I don't want them in the cage, but they don't want me at the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at it too, Lou, and I'm just amazed when you see these men and women make the weights they do. I'm walking around about $155. I think I'd have to fight down at Brandon Moreno's weight at 125. I want no part of trying to lose 30 pounds just to get my ass kicked. Hey, Lou, really appreciate it. As always, First Strike on a Tuesday. We'll see you again on Friday on First Strike on VSiN.
Thanks so much. Good luck, everyone.
There he is, everybody. Lou Finocchiaro. Follow him as I do. An entertaining follow at Lou. Thanks for listening and watching First Strike First Look. We'll see you on Tuesday. First Strike on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.